That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about How to Build a Girl, which will be available on digital and demand on May 8th, 2020, courtesy of IFC Films. It is the latest film directed by, forgive me, I'm going to say her name all fucked up, Coky Giedroyc. She's worked extensively in television, but this is the first feature she's done since 1999's Women Talking Dirty. It premiered at the 2019 Toronto International Film Festival, where it won the Pricey Prize in special presentations.
This film is about a 16-year-old girl living in the UK who's kind of obsessed with being cool.
Yeah.
But she's super smart, funny, quirky. She has it in her head. Well, she wants to be a writer. She submits like poetry to like a popular talk show, it seems, and she is selected to read her poem like on national British television, and she bombs hard, like hard. So she goes to school the next day, and everyone's making fun of her, which already adds to her being kind of a loser. She ends up getting a job writing for like a music magazine.
Yeah, kind of like a Rolling Stone.
And things take off very quickly. She becomes like a very popular like music critic, but in the process kind of like loses herself.
Yeah, she loses, yeah.
She finds love, she hurts relationships, fucks up her relationship with her family through all that. But in the end, like the title says, I guess,
How to Build a Girl.
Discovers like
in 10 days
how to sort of like come to the realization of who she is at 16, which she says at the end, like, this is who I am, I guess, at this moment.
So it's based on a novel by Caitlin Moran.
Well, first off, I did like this film.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah, yeah. The novel I did not read, but I could see. Well, I don't know.
So Johanna is played by Beanie Feldstein, breakout of Lady Bird and Booksmart, who's not British, who actually was kind of impressed.
Yeah.
I forgot that it was her, and that
her performance is very strong.
And I also learned I didn't know that she's Jonah Hill's sister, which is interesting. But no, I really like her. I think it's a great performance from her. She wants to be a writer. It opens with her in a library and about how there's very limited heroines in literature, and she has all these people on her wall at home like Sylvia Plath and the Bronte.
Well, also
sisters.
the opening scene is her fantasizing about men.
Yes.
So it's made very clear that she lives in her head.
Yes.
Like her imagination is very vibrant.
But she corresponds with these pictures on the wall, all who are played by notable people, like Sigmund Freud is Michael Sheen, and...
so in her bedroom, she has pictures of like Donna Summer, Sylvia Plath,
Elizabeth
the Bronte
Taylor,
sisters.
yeah.
Sigmund Freud?
Sigmund Freud.
Yeah, no, not Einstein. Anyway, they speak to her, like in her mind.
Yeah. And then she basically learns that in order to be a successful journalist/critic, you have to say things that are popular and are going to get yourself attention. So she ends up...
Instead of telling the truth.
So she ends up being a bitch, as she says it, and becomes quite notorious for it.
I think her performance is really strong. I think the writing is very strong. And overall, I did like it. So... the issues I had, not knowing that it was based on a book, is I kind of wish... So much happens to her. She's only 16, but she becomes like this famous critic. Well, famous, working critic who gets paid because she's able to support her family. Like, she pays the rent, she says. She buys her dad a new car. So she's doing well. It just seems a little too fantastic. And I would imagine in a novel, it would seem like more of a fantasy land.
Well, she adopts an alter ego as well. Dolly Wilde
is
the name, who dresses kind of like the Babadook, I thought.
Yeah.
In a top hat.
Or the Planter's Peanut. Actually, she looks more like the Planter's Peanut Man to me, but...
But there are some class issues going on. Her family is poor. Father's played by Paddy Considine, who's an actor/director that I really like. You just saw him as the strip bar owner in The Outsider, that Stephen King series.
Oh, that was him.
Yeah, that's him. Yeah, I like him. He's consistent.
I liked her dad, her mom. I think the family dynamic is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Her brother, she has a gay brother who she's quite close to, and he's like the cool kid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like their dynamic. I liked all the characterizations.
I did. I didn't like most of the funny cat people on the wall, except for maybe Lucy punches Sylvia Plath gets a funny line, I thought. And the Bronte sisters, I guess.
So what didn't work for you? You didn't like that. It didn't bother me as much. First, it took me out at first because obviously the people representing these notable figures are not, like, they don't even look like the real people. So it took me out a little bit, but ultimately I found it to be fun enough. You had commented that you would have preferred that they didn't speak, so that they were real photos of the real people, and that she speaks to them.
I guess to help create. I get it. It's just it did take me out of it a little more than I would have liked.
Yeah, I thought it was. There were a lot of nice little devices that work for me.
And then we forgot to mention she falls in love with a rock star.
So the main story with her, after she kind of finds success as a writer, is there's a rock star who she's asked to interview, her very first interview, and he is just I think swept away by her like uniqueness, charisma, nerve, and
lust
talent
for life.
Yeah, so they develop a relationship. She falls madly in love with him after spending one night with him, and that kind of is the sort of that gets the ball rolling, because she writes. So she's asked to interview him, and then she writes the interview, and it's basically a love letter to him.
Yeah, it's a gush.
So her editor is like, "You're fired. This just sounds like a teenage girl who's in love. That's not what we need at this magazine." So another one of the writers on the magazine tells her, like you said, if you want to be successful as a critic, you need to basically like be nasty.
Yeah.
So she does, but then she hurts him, or at least she thinks she does, because he's this huge star, so what does he care about her? But she's kind of wrapped up in that, and it kind of culminates with her. So she gets upset with her family because she kind of feels like they're using her and they don't understand her. So she decides to leave as a 16-year-old, and then she's like partying with the guy who runs the magazine, who's rich, and all the people who write for the magazine have money, and he offers her like a gig, like a full-time gig, but she realizes that that's not who she is. Like who she's turned into is not who she really is. Because at one point her dad, so another plot point is her dad's a musician, so he decides to sell the car she bought him so that he can like produce a record, and then he gives her the record, and he wants her to make it big because she's a big critic. So she goes back to her critic friends, and they have this thing where they listen to new music and decide if they want to kill it or review it, and they all think her dad's music is trash. His like band name is Mayonnaise.
I'm assuming you laughed at that.
I did. I thought it was funny, but they decide to kill it. So I think it just all culminates in her just feeling overwhelmed, as she should, because she's a 16-year-old. And that's when she kind of decides to take back her identity. What didn't work for me, like I was trying to say, I think that the story's a little too fantastic to be real. So watching it unfold very quickly, like it escalates very quickly, and it's real. Because I thought for sure she was going to be dreaming. I thought halfway through the film we would realize this is just in her head, and she, like some Hannah Montana shit, I don't know, but it turned out to be real.
No, in fact, and she gets a lovely job courtesy of Emma Thompson at the end.
Yeah, it's predictable.
It is very predictable.
It's very predictable.
I do appreciate the message of, using your own authentic voice and saying what you really think and feel, no matter whether that's popular or not.
I thought it was very well, like the dialogue is very well written.
Yes, and I liked Beanie quite a bit. The title, I don't like the, like even when the screener came through to review it, I'm like, God, I don't like this title. Only as a parenthetical to Bride of Frankenstein, to me, does this title work. I just, otherwise it sounds like it's going to be a corny memoir. So I think it transcends the traps of that title for me. But
sure. I don't have anything else. I don't think this film will get the attention it probably deserves.
Probably not.
So that's unfortunate, because it is well done.
And if you've seen Beanie in previous films like Lady Bird or Booksmart, like those are all three very different characters in very similar settings, which is also very impressive. And
I would definitely The director, I would see their next thing. I would definitely. Who's the main girl again?
Beanie Feldstein.
Yeah. I liked her. Like, I would watch her next thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no.
What would you give this film?
I give it 3.5 out of 5.
I would give it 3 out of 5.
Okay.
Anyway, bye.
Bye.